Good morning. Welcome to Exploring Economic Development with MEDC. I am Meredith Harris, and I'm really excited to introduce my co-host today because it is not only Wednesday, but it is your birthday.
It's my actual birthday.
I don't think anybody in the room knew it was your birthday. We just got some actual
Happy
reactions.
birthday. Special day.
Happy birthday, Jill.
29 is just
It's going to be a good year.
I thought it would be.
It's going to be a really good year. I was going to say you're turning 31 like episode 31, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
That's totally right.
Well, we're really excited to have you here on your birthday for
you.
this very special edition
Yeah.
of Exploring Economic Development. We're doing Inside the Industry this morning, which
Right.
is a really fun one. That's when we bring on not one guest, maybe two, sometimes three. Today we have 5 guests.
We have 5 guests.
Which is the first time I think we've actually ventured into having 5 guests on the podcast.
And it was not at all difficult to set up.
No. It's going to be really fun.
Yep,
It's going to be really fun.
So Meredith, Inside the Industry, we used to have this as kind of a separate segment, but we've kind of pulled it into our podcast. So we live stream this Exploring Economic Development on the first Wednesday of every month, episode 31.
31.
But Inside the Industry is special because it's a kind of a quarterly production that we do, and we invite a whole panel.
We try to dive exactly what it is. We try to go inside the industry. The last time we did Inside the Industry was manufacturing for Manufacturing Month, which was a lot of fun. But today we're going to dive into local banking, which is going to be also really fun. But before we get to that, I want to give a little recap. If you missed the last episode, which was I don't want to say it wasn't a special edition because we had our mayor on. So that's a
special.
very special
it's inherently
edition.
special
It's
when
a
you
very
get the
special
mayor
edition.
to come.
That's right.
Join
He
you.
celebrated 30 episodes with us, which was a really phenomenal episode talking about what's going on in the city, what we can look forward to in 2023. So if you missed that special episode with Mayor Arthur Vigeant, please make sure to check it out. It was really a great time with him, talking about all the things that we've accomplished over the past year, past 12 years with him, or I guess the past 11, and what we can look forward to in the next year in the city of Marlborough.
And so today we are live streaming on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. Hopefully that's going well.
I didn't even know we were doing that. I'm so excited to hear that.
Surprise. We're streaming to LinkedIn. So
That's
hi,
great.
how are you? Let us know where you're watching from. So we're live streaming right now this Wednesday morning. So you can comment or ask any questions for our guests or for Meredith or for myself, but I'm just going to be kind of busy today. But yeah, so you can join us there. We're also streaming to WMCT right now too.
Correct.
They're streaming it and they show in the replay.
That's phenomenal.
And
Thank you, WMCT.
Yes, and our audio podcast will also be available on Spotify and some other platforms as well.
And that's new.
It's new.
That's new. So that's really exciting. If you're in the car and you can't see our beautiful faces, you'll be able to hear our beautiful voices.
That's right. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So with that, we're good with all our administrative stuff.
I think so.
We're going to turn on the camera, show how many wonderful guests we have here in the room. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So we're going to kick it off. Nabil, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where do you work?
Sure, Meredith, thank you.
All your secrets, everything.
Oh, of course. My name is Nabil Farooq. I work at St. Mary's Credit Union. My title is Senior Commercial Credit Officer, primarily in the commercial lending field. So St. Mary's Credit Union is about $1 billion credit union. We offer a full array of financial products. And we were founded in 1913, and we are located here in lovely, headquartered here in lovely Marlborough, Mass.
And you guys have been in the city for a very long time. Long time. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll go right over to Wally.
Good morning. I am Wally Dwyer. I'm the CEO at Main Street Bank.
Also a staple in Marlborough.
I'm going to sort of beat up on my friend Nabil a little bit.
Please do.
And say
that didn't take long.
We've been in Marlborough since 1860.
Okay.
So
all right. You win.
We got you by a little bit there, Nabil. So we're a mutual savings bank. We're about $1.4 billion, similar in size. Yeah.
And formerly known as Marlborough Savings Bank.
Yes, we're trying to, that has
Get away
been,
from
believe
that.
it or not, 2017. So almost
it really?
6 years
Wow.
it's been since. Yeah, so what Meredith is referring to is in April 1st, 2017, Marlborough Savings Bank merged with North Middlesex Savings Bank up in Ayr and combined to form Main Street Bank.
Main Street Bank. That's great.
So far, so good. But
So
yeah,
far, so
almost
good.
Six,
That's
almost
right.
6 years.
That's great. Great. Dave?
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Morticelli. I run the retail banking division of Avidia Bank. I'll give you my elevator speech. We
Okay.
cater to the needs of Main Street, not Wall Street, because for 154 years we've been serving customers. We don't have shareholders. And I've been serving customers a little over 40 years, if you can believe it. Wow. And I'm also 29.
That's perfect. Look at that math right there. He's a banker. I got it. That's awesome. And we're going to jump over. We have two lovely ladies from DCU with us today.
Good morning. I'm Courtney McGloin. I'm a senior small business specialist with DCU, Digital Credit Union. We have branches throughout Massachusetts and New Hampshire. We're also right here in Marlborough. And my role as a senior small business specialist is overseeing the vehicle, visa, equipment, line of credit, and real estate loans that are $1 million or less. And then we do have an extensive commercial lending division that does anything that's above that in terms of real estate. But yeah, we have a 7-member team, and Esi is on my team with me, so I brought her here with me today.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
My name's Esi Kodra, and I've been with DCU for 10 years. I had a few different roles in the past 10 years. Currently a small business lender. I work with Courtney, as she described, in regards to commercial loans, vehicles, equipment, and visas.
Phenomenal. And so, Esi, you're going to be kind of transitioning to our revolving loan fund, which is why we have invited all of you here today. Jill, I don't know how much you know about the revolving loan fund. I know that we talked to you a lot about our toolbox and all of our cool things that we have going on at MEDC, but the folks in this room have partnered with us for the past, gosh, I want to say 7 years, so probably right around the time that you guys transitioned to Main Street Bank, but on what we call the Marlborough, it's technically called the Marlborough Community Area Loan Fund, but we call it the Marlborough Revolving Loan Fund. Yeah. And so these folks in the room, we actually had some other folks that were in the room when we first got started. Chris Bergelin was one, Steve Mackwitz over at DCU. Nabil and Dave have been with us from the beginning, so thank you guys for holding on for all this time.
Yeah.
Right? 31, right? Everybody in the room is 31 today, right? That's right. But this program is really phenomenal. So it's a partnership between the banks that are here in the room and then also the city of Marlborough through the MEDC. And the purpose of the revolving loan fund is to provide gap financing to small business owners that are looking to start, expand, or sustain a business here in the city of Marlborough. And they may go to a bank and be able to get a part of the loan that they're looking for, but they might need just a little bit more to really get themselves started. And that's where we're able to come in as a community fund and supply that extra little gap financing that we call.
That's awesome.
So it's a really great program. We appreciate all of you guys for continuing to work with us and partner with us on this program. Thanks to the city of Marlborough, the city council back in 2016 that approved the funds. The city actually gave us the funding to start the program, get it going. It was one of my first projects I worked on when I came to MEDC. So it's near and dear to my heart. It's been a lot of fun. We've seen, a couple different small businesses been able to get up and running or just expand, do different things in the city. So with that, I want to kind of turn it over to anybody in the room. I want to talk about Justin Sheridan, Nabil and Dave. I know you guys were there when we approved that loan, but any thoughts? Can you walk us through kind of what was the thought process behind it? It was a small loan at the time, but it was our first one, so we were really excited about it.
Yeah, Justin was our first loan. And he was approved, from what I recall, from his bank to get 80%
correct
financing for a bucket truck that he wanted to purchase. He was a master electrician.
Right.
So he came to us and said, hey, I have 80%. I don't have the extra 20% that I need. Could you help us with that loan?
Right.
And we did. And it was a small loan, and he's been very successful.
He has.
And that was our very first loan.
Yeah,
right.
There's the truck right up there
on
the camera.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Yeah,
he was a really good one. We wanted to kind of crawl before we ran. Right? So we did a small loan, but it ended up being really great. Yeah.
And Justin, as I recall, he was very good with his numbers. He understood, and that's usually the issue with small business, is that they know what their discipline, but the financing piece. But he had a good acumen about everything about his business,
right?
From sales to service to finance to everything. So it was really a great test case for us. Yeah. It was really beneficial for Justin and very successful for MEDC.
Yeah, and we've had a handful of loans since then. We Big Apple Deli has come to us. We did Fox Ballroom. A couple different ones that we've been able to help some folks get off the ground. Kitty Time Daycare, which is near and dear to my heart. My little cherubs go there every day. So happy to see those businesses up and running and doing well. So, I guess the pitch to any of the small business folks that are watching today, if you're in need of that kind of gap financing, that little piece that's going to get you over the hump to help you get your business started, there's a lot of wonderful people here in the room, a lot of great companies here in Marlborough banks that want to help you get started. So make sure to let us know. The applications are on our website. You can reach out to any of the fine folks in the room that I'm sure they'd be happy to help you get started and get going there.
And at the very end of this live stream, we're actually going to show a video where you'll be able to learn even more about it, and there'll be contact information and some all of the
things.
all of the things,
Right.
all of the details.
All
Yep.
the details.
Yep.
But it's funny. I mean, we were talking right before we came on about how we've struggled in the past couple of years to get anybody to apply for the loans. I'm just going to be honest about that. And a lot of that was because during COVID, people weren't looking for loans. There was a lot of grants that were out there that was available, a lot of money that was being passed around. Any thoughts from you guys? I hate to go down the COVID road, but that was a really difficult time for you guys in what you're doing. And if we're going to dive inside the industry, I think we'd be remiss to not at least touch upon what were some of the challenges you faced then, when you're looking back, what are the effects? Are you still feeling it now? So anybody want to jump in on that?
Well, we were talking before the broadcast here. PPP, we did all of us here. We did a lot of PPP loans.
Right.
Took a lot to get those
do it.
To do it.
Yeah.
So
For
that
anyone that doesn't know, what are PPP loans? I remember hearing about it.
Great
but
question,
can we?
Jill.
it's payroll protection program that if you held on to your employees during COVID, you were able to get these loans, which were eventually forgiven.
Forgiven.
Right.
Right.
Right. So we were busy doing
So
that.
everybody wanted them.
Yes, a lot
Yeah,
of people
right?
wanted
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you guys were talking about the volume. I mean, how many of these were you doing on a daily basis? Do you even know how many you were doing on a
I
regular?
think between for our institution, we're small as far as commercial lending in our credit union. We did like 451 of them, which is a lot for us. Between round 1 and round 2, and I think that totaled 30 million between those two.
Wow.
Which was it's a lot for us. These guys are bigger institutions, and I'm sure they did a lot more. But still, those.
Well,
are the
do you want to
numbers.
beat him on that one too?
Yeah.
Yes, he can. I'm sure we did actually. But no, you know what? One thing I will say is, I joke a lot, but we're very friendly competitors, all of us. I've worked with Courtney before. Nabil and I were just talking. We first met 22 years ago, serving on a board together. The guys at Avidia are, the friendliest of competitors, I would say. So
That's the beauty of local banking, right?
yeah, and I think
Absolutely.
that's really what it was all about. It was the PPP process was painful, but it was awesome in a lot of ways too, because it felt, I was joking with my kids, and I said, so much of my job is just money. It's money, money, money. This is an actual, we're helping
Challenge,
people.
yeah, something to do.
Well, the challenge was different. I mean, what happened, unfortunately, is it was rolled out with great fanfare and no preparation.
Yeah.
There was, we were talking.
Much like everything during COVID.
Oh, it's so true. The systems weren't ready
Right.
for the volume, and we
Right.
were talking earlier about we would, be up all night. I personally did 60 SBA. I'm a recovering commercial lender. I spent most of my career in the commercial lending, so I still knew how to do some of this stuff, and it was all hands on deck. We had everybody working. So in terms of helping people, it was terrific. It actually was a wonderful experience for my bank, from a cultural standpoint, because
Sure.
again, all hands on deck. We all
We're all
felt like we
working
were.
together.
It was a
Yeah.
team. We
Yeah.
had branch personnel helping to close loans, opening new accounts. So that was terrific.
And were you doing a lot of it from home?
Tons,
Yeah.
tons.
Wow.
And maybe we talk about that separately.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
certainly at Main Street, we've embraced the sort
Work from
of
home.
hybrid work from home environment. But yeah, that was huge.
Yeah.
It was absolutely huge. But we were joking, we were calling people Easter Sunday
Right.
morning.
Right.
And they were like, "What you're working today?" I said, "Well, the kids aren't up.
Yep,
The-
I'm
the-
working
the-
today.
The website's actually accessible
Right.
now, so yeah, we
Right.
banged out a few. So it was a great experience. Don't want to do it again.
Don't want to do it again.
We were talking. We were able to pick up some fantastic relationships.
I'm sure.
We did. We weren't advertising it, but we were able to pick up. Some customers. Guy called me out of the blue one day, and he said, "Hey, I'm at Bank of America. I've got $700,000 on deposit, but I don't have any loans with them, so they won't help me with a PPP loan."
Oh, wow.
He said, "So I'm looking for a bank." I said, "Well, you found one."
You
I
found
said,
one. Yeah,
"We're
yeah.
on the case." So, it was challenging, but where they say every crisis creates an opportunity.
Well, and it gave you guys, I'm
Absolutely.
sure, during a very difficult time, a different sense of purpose, right? You're, and like you said, helping people in a different way, and that's really kind of cool.
Yeah, I think the silver lining in all this is when you talk about disruption, it talks about innovation and being creative and so forth. And we ask businesses to do that. We ask communities to do that. Why not your banker to do that?
Right.
And I think what we learned was that it really didn't change things. Things were going to happen. It just kind of accelerated the movement. And technology was our friend. We've been in banking a long time. If this happened in the 1980s,
Forget it.
God forbid,
Right.
But we all had our laptops. We were all ready to do things. One big process change for us at Avidia was, you usually do things, consecutively. You go from A to point B to point C. Just like you go at school, you go through your blocks through school or periods, right? Well, during this time, it wouldn't work.
Wasn't happening.
So part of the disruption was innovation, and one of the innovations was to do things, concurrently, do everything all at once. Like Wally said, it was a team effort. It was a team sport. So if you were a golfer, not so much. You had to be playing soccer or football or something like that to make it work. And the blessing is that it worked.
It worked.
And Peter Lynch from the Magellan Fund way back in the day always said, it's always a bad bet to bet against America.
Yeah.
It always was and it always will be. And it's the same thing for today and for the future.
Do you guys find is there any residual effect of, any of those things that happened during that time, or it's okay to say no, right? I think a lot of it, we haven't seen a lot of it until
just
now.
about ended for us. I mean,
Yeah.
what gets lost, I guess, in the process is so much. It was awesome because it was all hands on deck doing that work. But once the loans were created, there was a whole other wave of forgiveness,
Right.
Yeah.
which was complicated, took a lot of people, and unfortunately, it took our eye off sort of everything else that was going on in the world, because
Sure.
if we were trying to do some innovation or other business changes or initiatives, everything kind of had to take a back seat to that PPP process.
Right.
So like I said, it was wonderful in a lot of ways. We made some money. I think a lot of people said, the banks are we made some money, but if you think about, I'm not sure it was, we made it, made money to make it worth it from a pure dollars and cents.
Well, you probably had
standpoint.
to add staff too, right?
We were paying a lot of overtime. I don't know that we added staff, but we paid a lot of overtime.
We actually had others in the commercial lending department that didn't typically work with small businesses working on them. We had our branch staff because they were in office every other, had them working on it, and we hired some interns to assist us with it because, like Wally said, it was 24/7 going on late at night, and it really did bring us together. And for those of us that work on the small business side that didn't work with the large commercial lenders, they were kind of learning our process and
Sure.
our borrowers, so it kind of brought us all together.
Sure.
And then kind of to echo what Wally was saying, for us it was fairly rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
We did initially open it up to pretty much anyone that needed it, and then because of our increased volume and having to add additional help, we decided to
Bring it down.
let's help our members first.
Sure.
It was key for us to help our members who banked with us first.
Sure.
And not have them miss out on this money, because initially we thought it was just going to be the round one, and then round two opened.
Sure.
So we didn't want this to dry up before we helped our own members or borrowers. So these are borrowers we had relationships, and to kind of hear the stories during COVID about their businesses having to shut down, or some of them even being sick with COVID, or business owners that you've had a relationship with for years and years saying, I'm having a hard time paying my employees, putting food on my table,
Right.
paying my mortgage. This allowed them to sustain their business, where there would have been a lot of fallout of these businesses failing.
Right.
So in the end, yes, it was very rewarding. It was
Yeah.
a very difficult process. It was a nice distraction, like Wally said. Before the broadcast, we were talking about how we were on Easter Sunday too. And it, honestly, to hear a borrower tell you how much you helped their business was better
worth
than, wallowing in the fact that where it's during COVID and we can't see extended friends and family
Right.
and we're all home now. So
Right.
it was rewarding in the end, but very tumultuous throughout.
I'm sure. So before we kind of leave this topic, so work from home, that's something that I think just culture in general has changed, where people are now working from home. Some folks are in the office a couple days a month. We've got some couple days a week. There's a lot of change going on, I think, in the business world. How does that impact you guys in terms of security? If you get people working from home, but you're dealing with banking, people's personal information, have you had any challenges that you've had to overcome in that sense, or has it been pretty easy?
Well, I
Nothing's
think,
easy, right, Dave?
Well, I think the focus is always from the customer perspective and what works for the customer. And I think that's the other silver lining to this is that we're using technologies today that our customers would want.
Sure.
As opposed to us dictating how we're going to do things. Really, the market dictated it, and we responded accordingly. You know, one of the funny stories I was having is that I remember my wife and I being in one of those birthday lines because you couldn't get out of the car, and you go by the person's street and so forth. And my cell phone
That took a minute. I'm like, a birthday
a
line.
birthday line, and I'm sitting there.
Happy birthday, Jill.
Yay. I'll drive around and honk at you later, Jill.
But all of a sudden, my phone rings, and it's not a customer of mine, but he was at another bank, a big bank, and they couldn't do it. And all of a sudden, you know, it's like, can you help me, Dave? It's like, of course we can. But again, if we didn't have cell phones, if we didn't have the technology,
you wouldn't have known.
So pivot became a blessing of a word for us. So we
Right.
pivoted all the time, and we would pivot back. But we always pivoted with the customer in mind. And what they needed.
That's great. I
Yeah.
love that.
Well, I think we all did. So.
Right. All right. So the $1 million question: the difference between the DCUs of the world, the main. So what is the difference between a credit union and a bank?
Well, I think historically, it had some relevance. I don't think it's as relevant today, but historically, a bank like Wally's and ours, it was like geographical. If you were a credit union, it was maybe where you worked or the population that you were serving. But again, as the community changed, as technology changed, I think they became a little bit more
Similar.
Intertwined. I
Okay.
think the biggest difference, from a community bank or the credit unions is from a commercial bank that is a stock bank where they're looking to maximize shareholder return, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
That's their mission, that's their vision. Our mission and vision is really to serve the community and give back to the community. We've been around since 1869. We're going to be around a little bit longer. But we want to make sure, and what's going to be vital for our institutions is the economic vitality of the community. That's why working with MEDC is so important for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, all of you have been so great to the city of Marlborough in so many different ways. You're all involved in this program, but so many other things too throughout the community. So thank you for that on behalf of the city, right?
Yes,
but anybody have anything to add? Do you guys have anything to add from the difference between the two?
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of that. There's not a huge difference. Credit unions initially were kind of consumer-based, and for digital credit union, when we're talking about it being either community involvement or community-based or business-based, DCU was originally business-based, so they were for digital employees. Now our membership has expanded since digital is no longer.
So it was literally digital, the company, right?
Literally digital, the company,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
And now we have expanded more, and we do serve some communities. We have branches in Worcester, and that's one of the communities that we serve. But credit unions are not for profit. We're regulated a little bit differently. We're not regulated by FDIC. We're regulated by NCUA, which isn't a huge difference to the consumer, but there are differences, especially on the commercial lending side where there's different regulations. DCU is a big player in the game for commercial lending, but the FDIC is more used to it with these large commercial banks. So, it's something to work around. But the piece of that is to work with your business as much as you can and try and get what their needs are met so that those differences aren't really apparent to those businesses.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
Meredith, I would be
yes.
remiss
Please.
if I didn't, Dave was
Jump
being
in.
very nice and diplomatic about the whole process, but I do think, David mentioned Avidia and Main Street Bank are community banks, but we're not just community banks, we're what's called a mutual bank, which, we were formed basically to provide financial services to an underserved community.
Okay.
And for the most part, it was, here in Marlborough, it was probably the workers in the shoe factories,
shoe factories.
is my guess.
Yeah.
Because that's usually how it happens is, you could go to the Boston commercial banks to get a loan for the factory owners to build their factories, but
the workers
had no access to bank accounts. So that's how mutual banks were formed. The ownership is it's a little bit blurry because we're kind of a special, thing in the world.
Aren't we all, Walter?
But technically we're owned by our depositors.
Okay.
But the only way the depositors would get anything out of it is if we dissolved the bank and distributed our capital out to the depositors, and that's not going to happen. So what I tell people all the time, and this is really the big one, we're actually very similar to a credit union, except we pay taxes, and that's a huge difference.
It's a nonprofit.
They're a nonprofit, but they're also very much engaged in the same business we
Right.
are, which is challenging for us as mutual banks because it's we consider it an unfair advantage.
Well, we love all of you, but we do love people that pay taxes.
We love them too, but that's
I love
we hate subsidizing the competition with our taxes.
All
I
right,
guess
all
is
right,
the
all
way
right. So that's a great segue of what other projects do you guys, or do you work on other projects together? I know this program in particular, you all work together, but do you work together on other things in the community or different other opportunities?
One thing, Wally said it earlier, we compete during the day.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime, we are always involved in many different projects. I can say I've worked with all of these folks on different things, from United Way to the Marlborough Library Project, food banks, Provision Ministries, lots of different things. Sure. That is definitely something that we all are involved with.
Yeah. Which is phenomenal.
As a group, yep.
Well, and I've always, even to go back to Justin Sheridan too, I remember you, Dave, calling us, you're like, hey, we've got this guy, we really want to help him out, we can only do X amount, but can we come together and make this work for him? And I remember that always sticks on my mind, where it was like, you really wanted to make sure that he was able to do what he was looking to do and get creative about it.
Definitely. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
And that's really why we come together. Fierce competitors, like you say, during the day.
Right.
But there's so many things through the Marlborough Chamber of Commerce,
I was
through
gonna say
Rotary,
that, yeah.
through MEDC, that it would really be a disservice not to provide our time, talent, and treasure.
Right.
We all also contributed to the fund. The city did as well.
Yep.
For the revolving loan fund. But it's not just about writing a check.
Right.
It's also about getting your hands, rolling up your sleeves, and getting your hands dirty. And we've all done it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and in credit to all of you, we asked a lot of people to get involved in the program too. Not everybody said yes. So thank you all for being at the table. I can't say that enough, because we really asked a lot of different Marlborough banks, but also surrounding communities, folks, to get involved in this. And you guys were all the ones that stepped up, so we appreciate that. Do we have a question?
No, just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I didn't see the thing. Live stream. So you're looking at you want me to show the PDF. Yes. The PDF to show folks, if you're interested in the gap financing, how you can find the information. Jill's got it up on the screen for us. So thank you, Jill. We appreciate that. You threw me off a little bit there.
Sorry.
That's okay. We have a question.
We do. Sorry, I had to turn my microphone on. So we've got one of our favorite guests.
Mike Ossing.
How did you know?
I knew. President Ossing. President Ossing.
President Ossing. He's asking a question. Do any of the housing developers, small or large, use our local banks and credit unions for loans for their projects?
I'm sure they do. And I know you guys probably can't tell us who or what's going on, but yes, no?
A lot of stuff's public record, but...
All right, well, you tell me.
Well, no, we certainly... Of course we do. Yeah,
Yes.
And in fact, that's one of the things we specialize in, I guess, is, not... Obviously, there's big national developers, but yeah, we do business with, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, 20 or 30 local builders. In fact, as I was walking over this morning, I saw that they're finally tearing down the building, over at the
I laugh. So
corner of Bolton Street.
I had a vacation day on Monday. I came back on Tuesday and the building, half of it's gone. I said, I guess I should go on vacation a little
take
bit
more vacations.
often.
Well, it was about half gone when I was walking over, and I
Right?
suspect it might be all the way gone when
When we're done
back.
with the live stream. Perfect. We have another question, Jill?
We do. We have another comment from Luis da Costa.
Thank
He
you
says,
for joining us, Louise.
Yeah, excited. And he also wished me a happy birthday. So, muito obrigado. Thank you. He says, kudos to Main Street Bank for being the newest partner of the Metro West free medical program now located in Marlborough. Great shout out for that. Wally and his great team committed to us with a substantial amount for 3 years.
That's great.
Proud to do it. Luis and I had a cup of coffee over here at Lost Shoe a month or so ago, and he was telling me about it. I said, hey, we've got some money left over in the foundation budget.
Phenomenal.
Send
What
me an
can we do?
ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're proud to be able to support that.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
great.
phenomenal
Great
program.
resource.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Please,
I'm
no,
sorry,
Nabil.
Meredith.
Keep it going.
You know,
Keep going.
One of the things is working in a local banks and credit unions like this, these decisions Wally just talked about and some of the other ones, we make those locally here.
Right.
Some of these other bigger banks have to go to
Not a lot of
who
red
knows
tape.
where they have to go.
Yeah.
But we make them right here.
Yeah.
And they're, especially with the revolving loan fund, you said, hey, you asked other banks and credit unions, we responded, yeah, because we're local. We just
Right.
make the decisions.
Right.
We know you. We know what you
Right.
guys do. So.
Well, and we'll make the pitch too to any developers, local folks. I mean, anybody that is looking to do projects in Marlborough, these guys want to talk to you, right?
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely. Another question.
We do.
Now we're on a roll with questions.
We're on a
I
roll,
love
yeah.
it.
So if you're just joining us, feel free to let us know if you have any questions. This question is from Sierra, joining us on YouTube. Good morning. What type of career opportunities are available to high school students after school, during school breaks? I know that's
great
kind of
question.
pivoting where we're at right now, but
Yeah, that's a great
if
question,
anyone
though.
wanted to jump in on that.
Everybody's hiring, right?
I mean, I remember one of my first jobs in college was working at a bank in Central Florida, and I really loved it. They gave me the title of private banker, but really,
Private dancer?
I mean, it felt very posh to be like, oh, I'll be your banker. But what I really enjoyed about working at the bank was I was able to work with people that maybe were not super comfortable with the technology side, like even just moving your bill pays from this bank to another, and it was really overwhelming. I mean, I work for Marlborough Public Schools as well, and just helping people with the technology side of, I just need to be able to do what I need to do.
What
I
great
need
experience,
someone
too.
Yeah. So I mean, I loved working at a bank. Are there anyone want to run with this
Yeah,
question?
I actually started at a bank when I was in college, part-time teller, and then I enjoyed it so much. It's like you were saying, the helping of members coming in, educating them. And it's a great experience to put on your resume for sure. If it's communications, money handling, of course. But yeah, it was great.
That's
I'm
awesome.
still in banking
There you
after
go.
all these years.
Yeah. So
I think-
opportunities for young kids to work and
Yeah, so I think the good news is that all of us are hiring probably for our
I'm sure
institutions.
everybody's
But that's because we didn't overhire, you know, so you see in the news, you know, Amazon is downsizing and the others are downsizing because they oversized
Right.
and maybe they had to. We did things a little different, all hands on deck. So we are still hiring. And I think the great thing about banking is that it's many disciplines. It's not just about money. So if you love technology, there's a technology piece. If you love human resources, if you like to be a lender, an accountant, a marketer, there's so many disciplines. You know, I started in banking when I was like 21 years old. So look at me now. But
Only
the
31,
Only
I-
31, yeah. So
40
Just a
years
few
later.
years. We're going to keep going on that joke.
yeah.
we tend to do that.
We do.
But I think for students out there that are looking to get in an industry or whatever, the important thing is just the start. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
that's probably the hardest part. Once you start, your career will take care of itself. You know, you'll do things. You know, good news, bad news for the students. You know, good news is this is the hardest part of your education. You know, there's a lot of term papers, there's a lot of studying. Bad news is that learning is a lifelong process. I just completed my 22, testing for all of the regulations. I'm sure you all took yours as well. It never ends.
Never ends.
But if you're interested in finance or banking, you definitely reach out.
And there's a good career path there too, right?
Absolutely.
I was a
Yeah.
float teller.
Were you really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I started.
Wow.
I started as a teller too.
Did you?
Yeah, and David couldn't have said it better myself. The one thing I will add for anybody who's embarking on a career in banking, or any career for that matter, it's up to you to volunteer and ask the questions in
Right.
order to get ahead. You know, it's absolutely all of those opportunities are there, and we, work hard to give those opportunities to our employees, but
But you gotta want it.
you got to want it and you got to
Yeah.
ask for extra. Like I said, I started as a teller and found my way into the commercial loan department
Look at you now.
Yeah.
and look at me now.
Right.
I wish I could go back and, show it to
some more
some of my
fun.
old bosses,
Yeah.
But that's such a good point. I mean, students, you should know that asking questions, having ambition, putting yourself out there, and showing that you're being proactive, it is recognized in every
Yeah,
field.
it's a good thing. Don't be
There's-
afraid to do that.
There are so
Absolutely.
many doors that have opened up for me personally and for other people just by being someone that's not just, you don't have to change your personality, right? If you're not as outgoing and as obnoxious as me, that's fine. But to be able to look at those opportunities and to look at people that could be potential mentors to you, that could give you advice. And I mean, I've got lifelong friends, even with my friends at Bank of Central Florida. Still to this day, I'll still circle back and say, oh, I've got this opportunity here, or you might like this live stream. I mean, those connections stay. So being proactive and not being afraid to be vulnerable with what you don't know and what you want to know will open so many doors for you.
And just to expand on that and Wally's point, the most important thing is we can teach you a lot of things, you know what I mean? But the soft skills, the interpersonal skills,
Absolutely.
being well-rounded. So while you're in school, why do you have to read Chaucer? I don't, well, it's important, I still love the Iliad and the Odyssey, I mean, because I had great professors that were passionate about. And so the important thing is, if you look back at your greatest professor or your greatest coach, it was the passion that they brought to their discipline. And if you let your passion shine through, I
You'll
think
be
that'll
successful.
set you up in your career.
Yeah. So this is a great time to bring in. We actually put it out to some of our students at Marlborough High School, asked them some questions that we thought might be interesting, and I know that we actually shared the live stream with a lot of the students, so they could be watching right now or they're going to watch at some point in the future. So I'm going to read the questions because they submitted questions for us. These were sent in by the Marlborough High School financial literacy teacher, Jane Haley. So thank you, Mrs. Haley, for submitting questions. We appreciate you. First question, what kind of credit checks do you do before authorizing a loan?
So we typically pull all 3 credit bureaus,
Okay.
which kind of gives us an idea of their financial well-being.
Okay.
And then based off of that, we put the rate depending on that, and then also the amount that they would be approved for.
Okay. And the follow-up to that, is no credit as bad as a low credit score?
Yeah, so it's better to have no credit than bad credit.
Didn't have bad
just
credit. Do everybody agrees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have first-time borrower programs. I'm not sure if any of the other institutions do, but if we have someone that's new to credit and looking for a loan, we would consider that.
Okay.
And of course, there would be stipulations with that, but we do have credit builder loans, or they can do auto loans with that. But sometimes when you have the rough credit score, it's harder to pull yourself out. So
Sure.
I would agree that it's better to have either no credit than low credit.
Okay.
And if it is someone that's struggling with credit or doesn't understand credit, they can come into any one of us and we can talk them through that.
That's a great offer.
Yes, and we can pull their credit, or they can pull it themselves once a year and bring it in, and we can look it over for them and try and find ways for them to rebuild that credit.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's really great.
I'll tell you one thing I did for all 3 of my children, and my oldest is now 40, and the youngest is still in their 30s.
Even when you're 31.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. But what I did was, for all the kids, they all had a credit card. It was a small credit card, $500.
Sure.
Their instructed were to use it for gas,
Yep.
pay it off every month, so you're
Yep.
not paying finance charges, and it built the credit. And obviously, if you have a student loan, if you go to college too. So there are ways to build, they always
your
say,
credit.
the best time to get credit is when you don't need credit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like anything you're going to do, it's just like know what the plan is,
Yeah.
and then execute the plan. And get guidance from your banker, from the credit union, from your parents.
Right. Well, it helps to have a banker as a parent, right? I'm sure.
You would think so, yes.
Right? Do any of you offer student loans, or is that not something that local banks really do? You guys do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great for local folks to know. Awesome. Okay. What is the difference between stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? Anybody want to tackle
So
that?
so stocks.
I'm going to
are
learn
ownership.
here. This is great. I love
Yeah,
it.
so stocks are ownership in a company. Bonds are basically loans to companies, and there's risk involved. So that's what you have to be cognizant of. Where we all have FDIC or some form of insurance for our depositors, your money is protected. So over a long period of time, it makes sense to talk to somebody about mutual funds and so forth. But over a short period of time, you want to probably stay well protected. But the important thing here is just understanding what you're involved with.
Okay. Interesting.
I think
Jill,
that's
do we
the-
have a question? Oh,
I'll just add one thing in terms of mutual funds, just for those of you that don't understand. A mutual fund is essentially a bundling of stocks.
okay.
Or securities, could be bonds. There's bond mutual funds too. But basically the idea is that it builds diversification by buying a pool, like your share of a pool of investments, as opposed to buying an individual investment. It's the finance math says it's riskier to own just one thing
one.
instead of 10% of 10 different things.
Okay.
And
Did you
that's
guys have
it
something to add?
Yeah, echoing that was exactly what I was going to say. Is there's varying levels of risk there, and you could do deposit products, which are like we said, FDIC or NCUA insured, and then there's bonds, and then mutual funds, and then stock would be in one particular company. So there's varying levels of risks, and depending on the place you are in your life, you may be willing to take on more risk, or you might want to scale that back a little bit. But we all have financial advisors that work
Can
in
help
that
them
industry
with
that
that.
could assist with that.
Sure. Okay. And so, believe it or not, guys, we're bumping up against time. I've got one more question for you from our wonderful students at Marlborough High School. But what is the difference between checking, money market, and a savings account?
Yeah, so typically checking accounts are transaction driven. You know? And matter of fact, kids today, teens, whatever, they don't even call it checking account. They're like spending accounts. I mean, who has checks? Who has a check?
Well, they probably don't even know what a check is, right?
They don't. So that's more of dated transactions, and savings is something to put aside for the future and earns more interest generally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same thing. Checking. It's like you said, transactional account, and usually a savings is interest bearing, and then a money market usually holds a little bit more of a higher interest rate. It's usually tiered levels, and then there are certain restrictions on it that you have where you can do, say, 3 or 6 withdrawals per month on it. Because the intent of those is to kind of save and build on it.
And some of you guys have programs where, like savings account, you're making some money back by being at the specific banks. I'm looking at Wellegs. I know you guys do that in particular. But a lot of different programs that are available. So, I mean, I guess my pitch to the students that are watching, get involved with your local bank if you're not already involved with your local bank, because there's a lot of benefits to being able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, walk in and talk to one of these folks that are here and they have answers for you. So if you're looking for a bank, these are all wonderful people, and I would suggest any of you go to any of the folks here in the room. So if anybody has anything to add, any last final pitch for any of your wonderful institutions that you'd like to make, I think we've done a pretty good job, but just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for your time. Again, thank you for being part of the Revolving Loan Fund, and that's really a program in the city that we are really proud of. We're really happy to be able to get out and help small business folks that are looking to get started or grow. So if you are somebody that is a small business owner or you'd like to be a small business owner, please make sure to check out our website, check out the application. It's pretty easy. And if you have any questions, don't call me, call Linda Martins at MEDC. She's our Revolving Loan Fund and Toolbox specialist here, and she would be happy to help you. So with that, I think we have a video that we're going to run really quick, and you'll get to see Linda's beautiful face in just a moment. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Wednesday, and happy birthday, Jill Morin.
Come on.
You hate the attention. I know you do.
I do. All
Bye
right,
now.
here's our video. Bye.
My name is Linda Martins with the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation, also known as MEDC, and today I'm here to tell you about the Marlborough Area Community Loan Fund. The Marlborough Area Community Loan Fund is a collection of local monies that are borrowed by business owners, recycled through repayment, and reused by future borrowers. Officially launched in January of 2016, this revolving loan fund, also known as RLF, allows companies to secure gap financing, which provides a bridge between the funding they have obtained through a private lender and the actual amount they need to start or sustain a business. The funds are provided through a partnership between the MEDC and 4 local banks: Main Street Bank, St. Mary's Credit Union, Avidia Bank, and DCU, and all are used exclusively for the development and expansion of businesses in Marlborough. If you are the owner of a business with available capital and bank loan approval that together cover a significant portion of your launch or expansion in Marlborough, the Revolving Loan Fund could help you obtain the remaining funds. The RLF funds can be used towards the following: leasehold improvements, operating capital, acquisition of land and buildings, new construction, facade and building renovation, landscape and property improvements, machinery and equipment purchases, soft cost expenses related to real estate development. To be considered, Revolving Loan Fund applicants must meet all of the following requirements: business is or will be located in Marlborough, personal guarantees and collateral, lease or ownership of commercial property in Marlborough, business plan and/or cash flow projections, sufficient credit history, and the completed RLF application and supporting documents. If you'd like to learn more about MEDC's programs, please reach out to us via email, give us a call, or visit our website. You can also follow us on social media by searching @Marlborough EDC.